people who got a lot of wrong ideas about sharks. So I just say we gotta coexist. Now, how you gonna coexist with that shark, huh? Shark just wanna do one thing. That's kill you, eat you, and you out.
I'm a huge fan of Jaws, and any game that allows me to be the shark is always going to get my attention. This has just popped up as one of January's PSN games for PS5, so I thought I may as well have a look at it. And before I go on, please consider dropping a like and or subscribing. Thanks. Who doesn't want to be a man-eating shark, picking off locals, causing all sorts of problems in general? Don't deny it, you know it to be true. You start out as a baby shark. Okay, just to let you know, I'm not about to play Baby Shark, Maneater or the Jaws theme. Feel free to hum it to yourself throughout the review though. This little chomper has revenge on her mind, and with good reason. Scaly Pete, a top tier shark hunter, killed your ma, left his mark on you and then tossed you back. Not before you managed to nibble off one of his hands though. Are you okay doing the same thing in a game at the start as you will be by the end? That's most games these days, isn't it, I suppose, but I ask because Maneater consists of the following. Get a checklist of tasks in your present area, and these tasks usually consist of population control, so kill 10 clownfish, turtles, or whatever that area has an abundance of. Eat 10 or more humans. This is done primarily to raise your threat meter, which in turn brings out the hunters, a bit more on them later. Hunt certain creatures or boats and eat them. Reach the next generation of your evolution, so teen or adult for example. This will happen as you level anywhere and complete other tasks, but it is a requirement of certain areas. Complete a percentage of the region's tasks, so do all of the above, locate secret stashes, signposts and so on. Once you have met these requirements, you can fight the apex predator. If you want a clue to what that will be, well, it's gonna be a giant version of whatever the most powerful normal mob is in that area. So in the swamp, it's a gator, for example. Get to a new area, see great whites for the first time? Yep, that's gonna be your apex predator, once you meet the criteria. Once this is all done, you can check on Scaly Pete, or in some cases face off against him. And if you're expecting the fifth area to be any different in this respect from the first, then I've got bad news. It's not. This isn't the worst thing in the world. You soon get into a rhythm, you bounce from one objective to the next on the fly. This is a short game anyway, and to me it's more about fun and outright outlandish premise anyway, living the fantasy of being a completely overpowered creature with no remorse reminds me of Destroy All Humans or something of that ilk. This game does not concern itself with balance and overly tight penalties, it focuses on fun and destruction. The combat is straightforward. See a fish, bite it, see a human, bite them. You can hold on to a lot of your prey and thrash it about as well, which works really well on larger targets that tend to fight back. Little Chompy can jump out of the water too. In fact, she can even triple jump. That's pretty impressive for anyone, let alone a shark, as well as useful for getting about and eating more humans. Killing the wildlife is acceptable after all, who cares, that's just nature. Killing humans, however, attracts attention, and eating enough of them will raise the alarm. Before long, the shark hunters will be out for blood. I'll talk about them in a bit. It's here where you first realise something. You're overpowered, there is no contest. I like that. You're meant to be a brutal force of nature, even the pup is pretty powerful. To take out the hunters, or anyone on a boat for that matter, leap over the boat and just chomp them. You'll grab them and take them into the deep where you can munch them up. Even if you are getting pelted by bullets, whatever you eat gives you back health, so it's quite possible to just jump about, picking off hunters and tanking the damage as you top up each time you digest another one. If anything is tricky in this game from a combat perspective, it's the apex hunters that are basically the boss of any given area. With apex predators, you can cheese them pretty easily. They're usually pretty big, so you can circle round them and bite the sides until their legs, fins, or whatever they have, come off. They're usually a bloody stump by the end of it, desperately trying to bite you. Even if you do take a large hit from an apex, you can just swim off and nibble some small fry to top up your HP. They also seem to have an area that they won't leave, and if you do, it resets their attack, and they won't follow you. but their HP does not seem to regenerate, so you can cheese them even more if need be. The predators will also afford you a new power. For example, the alligator boss gives you amphibious, which means you can spend more time on land. Oh yes, the shark is indeed incapable of jumping onto beaches and golf courses for a mid-afternoon snack. Annoy, and by annoy I mean eat enough humans and you will gain infamy. A named hunter will then arrive, beautifully animated as you can see. You may think these are going to be super-powered humans of some kind with crazy boats, and though they do turn up in tougher boats with increasing firepower, explosives, and even Tesla coils attached to the hull later on, they are just as squishy as their friends. Hop over the boat and chomp them too if you can. They also reward you with a new upgrade for your shark. There are 10 in total, and not, like I say, a hard task to finish off. The hardest part is actually building up your infamy to attract the next one to start with. Just keep eating people till you fill the circle. As if you weren't powerful enough, you level up and grow from pup to teen, adult, elder, and ultimately the mega. The shark gets physically larger, more powerful, and has access to a wide range of gear. Now, you didn't think a game in 2021 now was gonna completely bypass levelling, experience and loot, did you? We don't need to worry too much about loot in the classic sense. You aren't gonna be finding a new hat off a grouper or an epic wand off a mackerel. The loot is much more focused and is rewarded from key hunters and bosses, and you can pop into your shark's grotto, which acts as a safe space. And here you can swap out new teeth, fins, heads, organs, or even your body type. Each one of these can be upgraded in power as well from the resource you gain from all your killing. It's a system very similar to Valhalla, which I appreciate. Having to sort through piles of random loot can be a real chore, and though it does have its place, I much more prefer this approach in these type of single-player games. Anyone who's played any Neo games will be able to attest to that, I'm sure. The loot piles in that just hurt my head. So there's several sets in the game. There's the bone set, which is the tanky material. There's the shadow set, which makes a shark quick as feck. And there's the electro shark, which makes him zappy and allows him to teleport. Now take note here, you will get the bone armour first more than likely, and if you want to spank through the game, just upgrade that. If you want the shadow armour, go for all the signposts, and the electro armour, go for the hunters. It's possible to get the other gear and organs early-ish, I suppose, but in reality, due to the structure of the game and the areas, you are more likely to get the full complement of bone armour first, and the rest of them much, much later in the campaign. The shadow set is great for cleaning up all the collectibles though, as it makes shark the speed of light. The loot, as it were, or parts, also change your appearance. Now I'm not knocking sharks. Marvel of nature they are, but you can make this thing look truly hideous. Graphically, it's not terrible. It's clearly not been updated for the PS5 in any meaningful way that I can see. There are some frame rate drops in larger areas as well, and especially when the hunters turn up in force. I'm not sure what happens at this point, a memory leak or some other technical issue, but after a large hunter fight, the frame rate seems to tank quite a bit thereafter. Reloading seems to fix it for a little while. It's not a game breaker, but it's noticeable. You'll also get the odd loading screen between areas or invisible boundaries. It's rare, but it happens. The animation and artwork on the shark itself and the marine life is rather good, and the depths give that uneasy feel of what's lurking off in the darkness. That's something that's always given me the creeps. If I get knocked off my boat in Sea of Thieves, especially by the Megalodon, I go into a blind panic. It makes my skin crawl. Thalassophobia, if that's how you say it. Apparently anyway, according to my in-depth research. Odd then, and conflicting in a game where you are the worst thing that's hiding in the depths. And I'm mostly okay with it, but when you get out to the Gulf, oof. The sound is serviceable, it does what it needs to do. It doesn't rely on Jaws or John Williams inspired riffs, which is good. It more uses heavy metal, to be fair, in a lot of cases. It could have. A special mention must go to Chris Parnell, who does an amazing job of the narration.
Can't avoid us forever. While most know him as the friendly face of Captain Winky's Fish and Chips, in real life the pirate was a genocidal monster who murdered and enslaved thousands. A local critic once wrote that Amos Beauregard was the Rodin of the Bayou, but Beauregard was functionally illiterate and had no idea who Rodin was.
Panel plays the narrator of the in-game live reality show. It's how the game is presented throughout. How the camera is on the shark throughout his shenanigans, though, is a mystery, but it doesn't need answering. It's funny, sometimes hilarious, though at times with any game that has a narrator, there are phrases you'll hear 30 plus times throughout the game, and that'll get on your tits. Let's talk about the land dwellers for a second, though. Well, they're clearly human, so that's good, I suppose, and as most of the game looks pretty good. The humans, well, and their animations, especially the hunters' intros, are just a bit off. And did they hire a few people whose speciality was aquatic wildlife and ask them if they could do humans too? Yeah, never mind, it's not a huge deal. It's only noticeable on the close-ups, which are very rare indeed. And it's not a first-person or shark game anyway, so you only ever see them at a distance or when you're eating them. The locations are pretty varied, starting in the grimy swamp and working your way up through the tiers of society, as it were, brings a nice mix of environments, and it's clear the devs wanted the player to notice the little touches they put in, as one of the collectibles is a signpost of which each area has 10, and each one will give you a bit of background and insight to the locale. There's a radioactive area, the mafia graveyard and the fairground, and yeah, it's pretty good. So variety in a game where you spend a lot of time underwater is decent, when it could have been just a lot of rocks and sand, which does happen as well as you get further out to sea, but it's always littered with crap manners thrown in. Land areas are pretty well varied also, and the shark can jump out onto the land and flop about to snack on delicious humans. Effort's gone into these too, and of particular note is the golf course and the rave. Yep, you get to play a shark that turns up at a rave and eat everyone. When I make note in my reviews that certain aspects of games could have done X or Y to make something badass, this is what I'm talking about. It's a small thing, but it's those moments that make you smile. There's something special about hopping down the boulevard just chomping people. Once you've completed the game, that's it. There's no new game plus. Well, I say that's it. You can continue to clean up all the collectibles and finish off any hunters you might not have got or done throughout the campaign. Depends how much of a completionist you are. I will say for achievement hunters, this is a really quick win. Or I suppose you could just terrorise the locals for a laugh, or go the passive route and provide an aquatic taxi service, or flip things into the air, just for the funnies. To surmise, the game is not going to set the world alight, obviously, and you may well ask, well, why review a game that's free to many now and can be picked up cheap elsewhere on other platforms? Well, a free game is a free waste of time if it's crap, my friend, and that applies to many things. What it does do is enforce the power fantasy of being a terrible force to be reckoned with, like Jaws, Jason, Alien or the Predator, and it does it with conviction. You don't play some flimsy creature that's nothing to start and slowly builds up and then struggles with certain situations even at max level. You start off powerful even as a pup, and become more and more ridiculously powerful to the point where you're pretty much immune to everything. Just wear the bone set and level that up. I died 3 times on my playthrough to completion, and one of those deaths was because I got stuck on a boat which glitched out and I suffocated. Even when death comes, there's no penalty other than putting you back to your grotto, a minor inconvenience. All your progress is saved, you never lose it. The game does not concern itself with mechanics such as stealth, timed missions or the like, and this type of game is a shoo-in for that type of mission structure. It just goes straight for the kill. It's a fast, violent ride. Reminds me of State of Emergency or games like that. Just go out and cause trouble, but don't expect any deep storylines or the likes. The map is just a tick box of exercises But as I said, you get into a nice routine going from one to the other, and I just enjoyed creating carnage and upgrading my sharks so I could cause even more carnage with greater ease. The game is short by today's standards, took me 12 hours to finish, and I did a bit of messing about as well. If you want to get all the collectibles, probably 15 or 16 hours, they're not hard to find. Apart from this one. Go here to get it. It's a good job it's a short one as well. It's about right for what it is. Any more and I would have been bored. There's many things I could spew out about how it could be improved. Shark on a golf cart, please. In terms of content, I don't buy that it's just a shark game and there's only so much you could have done. They've already pushed the boundaries of reality here, but you could go further. Some form of nemesis that is more badass than the shark itself. It's silly fun. Its world and narrative and direction are daft. The main story would be a side mission in most games, and not a memorable one at that. Actually, I've just realised there's no giant octopus, squid or crab. -10, it's shit.